Mr Speaker, I don't disagree with the member who's just resumed his seat that it's very important for people working in our communities who are in positions of responsibility, either whether it be the elderly or the young, that vetting is definitely something that should be done. The big debate around this piece of legislation, which I think most accurately has made its way through the House in I think it has spluttered its way through the legislative process, has been what, at the first instance, did this piece of legislation propose to do? What was it sold to do? And what is it actually going to achieve? Now, when this piece of legislation was introduced in November 2014, after the government came into power in that election, it was saying and it was proposing that the likes of concert promoters, the likes of people who are holding sports events, where there would have to be an extra police presence to control crowds, etc. It's those types of events where, and I think on this side of the House we agreed to it somewhat, where there would be an element of charging out by police, that there was extra expense for providing extra policing at those types of events, and therefore some cost recovery would be necessary. And under that guise, the Labor Party supported this piece of legislation to the Select Committee. Unbeknownst to us, it wasn't the likes of event promoters and sporting promoters who were going to be targeted. It was the likes of the community organisations who have come under the piece of legislation as it stands. Charities, organisations within our communities like schools, early childhood providers, who will now have to bear the brunt of the cost of the police vetting. The argument being that it is a demand service and that there's a private benefit to those organisations, that the people that work with them are police vetted. I would argue that there is a general public benefit for making sure that the people work in those positions within those organisations are good people, are safe people, and work within a community with some of our most vulnerable citizens. The other point I want to make about this piece of legislation is I think we're working on it with old information that doesn't necessarily tell the picture as it is. Because the regulatory impact statement, which I believe was authored in October 2013, quotes figures in it which the government is still using now as a basis for the overall cost of the service, the vetting service. Back in, I'll just double check this and get it right. Yep, back in October 2013, the police said that the vetting service costs to police were $2.2 million, which in the big scheme of things, I think that the taxpayer can wear. Now, at that stage, the proposed fee for a police vetting check was, I understand, $5. So that's where they came up with the figure of 2.2, because apparently back in October 2013 there were 500,000 police vet checks processed every year. Now, also in that document back in October 2013, it says the total cost of providing the vetting service is likely to increase over time due to demand for the service and the operational costs of the service provision. So, in English, they're saying there's going to be more demand, more than 500,000, and therefore the price of the vetting service will have to increase. It wasn't until the committee stage of this piece of legislation where I asked the Police Minister in the chair, well, back in 2014, $5 was the nominal fee. The piece of the regulatory impact statement says that things might change. It has been 3 years since this regulatory impact statement was produced. So has the government got any new figures on what the cost to the end user will be? And we've been waiting for some time for the potential impact, and it makes a big difference when you're talking about 500,000 and potentially more police vetting checks over a year period. And then we got the new figure, which we've never heard before, Mr Speaker, of $8.50. So for at least 12 months, we've been wanting to know exactly what the impost for the likes of charities and schools in our communities as to what they were going to be charged for these police vet checks. For a long time, 2 or 3 years now, they've been working on the assumption of $5. But after a simple question to the Minister, all of a sudden we came up with another figure of $8.50, which obviously is going to increase the charge or the cost to the likes of those schools and those charities and those organisations. So we've got the $8.50 charge, which has gone up considerably from $5. We've also got the figure of $500,000 vets, which this has all been based on. And I still don't think we've got an accurate figure from the government about how many vet checks are being done. If it was $500,000 back in October 2013 and their own regulatory impact statement says that demand is going to increase, what is the number? Has it gone from $500,000 to $750,000? Because it does matter if your price has gone up by $3.50 from the figure that was first mooted. Because by my maths, if we're still basing it on 500,000 vet checks, which is the old figure, and the new figure of $8.50, up from $5, the police cost for the vetting service change has gone from $2.2 million per year in October 2013 to $4.25 million in October 2016, which has meant that the cost of police vet checks has almost doubled in the time that this piece of legislation was first mooted and the problem was looked at to now. So that, I think, is of a major concern for those people out there who are paying for these police vet checks. Some of the likes of schools may have to go through quite a few police vet checks every year, and an increase of $3.50 to the government might not sound a lot, but $8.50 over quite a few, and we've got that number of $500,000, is quite a lot of money to the people out in the community. And let's not forget what this really is about. It's about community organisations trying to do good in the community, not the likes of sports promoters or concert promoters, where it was first mooted at the very outset of this piece of legislation. So I think this has spluttered through the Parliament. The information that it's all based on is patchy at best, because we've been operating on $5 for 3 years and then all of a sudden it's $8.50. We've been operating on $500,000, so what is the number? And perhaps someone in the government benches in their 5-minute call that they'll take on this piece of legislation that they're obviously very proud of will tell us exactly what the figures are and how much revenue they're bringing in because of this, and whether or not that does cover the costs or they're making a little bit more extra on the side. Because I don't know what's going on within the police vetting system if the costs have doubled in the last 3 years. Have the volumes increased that much? Really? From $500,000 to what? And what has meant an increase in price from $5 back in 2013, Mr. Speaker, thank you, to now, where it's gone to $8.50? Because it's taking money out of the likes of early childhood centres, it's taking money out of the likes of schools, it's taking money out of the likes of people who are working with the most vulnerable people in our community. And I'm not saying this work shouldn't be done. I think police should, in some cases, try and look to recover costs from people, but not necessarily these kinds of organisations in our community. So I would really appreciate if someone on the other side of the House updated us with the best information that they've got. How many police vet checks are happening now? Because that $500,000 number that they were spouting back in 2013 must have gone up, because their own regulatory impact statement back then said the demand would increase. And how long will $8.50 for a police vet check stay at $8.50? Because my colleague Porter Williams has been very concerned about the price rising up to the likes of $50, which it has got to in Australia. And I think from the price increase that we've seen in a short time from $5 to $3.50, that's a valid concern to have. So if someone from the other side of the House could tell us exactly what the situation is, to say how much money they're bringing in, how many police vet checks there will be in the next 2 to 3 years, so we can get an idea of what's going on here, because I think charities and organisations and the likes of schools in our communities would quite like to know what they're up for to make sure that the people and their organisations are safe people to work within them.
Jonathan,